Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about the overall political situation now that we've seen the former Prime Minister say as far as the military is concerned, he's rather than naming the military itself, it seems to be a step away from that, and there seems to be as far as overall the situation is concerned, he's saying that it is not his party that is responsible for what happened, the attack in Lahore, all of that. On the other hand, we are seeing the government as far as the army is concerned, as an institution, resolved to ensure justice, as in this case, as far as the violence that happened, the unprecedented kind of violence we saw in the last couple of days, and what led to it, who's responsible for it. All of those are some of the things that are now being investigated. We saw the caretaker CM also speak to the media. He also addressed a press conference where he said that this is the main agenda as far as the government is concerned, because they're looking at it as an attack on Pakistan at this time. We'll be talking about this and what is the likely scenario to be politically speaking as far as PTI as a political party is concerned, and the former Prime Minister and his stance on the overall issue as far as this damage is concerned. We'll also be talking a little later on about overall the situation legally where we are as far as the election case is concerned, which is going to be heard tomorrow. What is the situation at this time? What is the legal situation as far as the parties are concerned, as far as the Parliament is concerned, which is standing stoic in one direction, whereas the Supreme Court seems to be in another entirely. All of that today. On Perspective, I have with me Agha Iqrar Haroon, who's a political analyst. Thank you for joining us today. And we also have with us Shah, who is an advocate, Supreme Court, also former judge, Lahore High Court. Thank you so much for joining us today. Agha Sahab, like I said, there are no two opinions on the fact that, of course, whatever happened was wrong and that justice should be done in the kind of violence that happened. Do you see the former Prime Minister now stepping away from this and saying that it is not his political party? When he spoke to, he addressed his followers yesterday, I believe, he said categorically, "Ye hum mein se nahi the." The point is that is it not him saying earlier on when he was in the High Court that this is the likely scenario if he's not granted, if he's again arrested? All of those remarks, have they been made, have they not been made? How do you look at this overall?
Thank you so much. First of all, if you remember, before his possible arrest, he recorded a message, and this message is very clear. If I am arrested, you must come out. So when mobs come out, you cannot stop mob what it has in mind. And then you have a series of audio leaks in which the PTI leaders are telling people, you know what to do, you know where to go. So they planned everything well before, because his possible 4-hour or 5-hour arrest was expected, because 5 hours are enough for him. We know after that he will had a blanket relief, and that was unprecedented, exceptionally different kind of new, history is being written. So come to the point.
I want to, let me come back to you, Agha Sahab. I'm going to go to Shah Sahab. I want to ask him, Agha Sahab, let me go to Shah Sahab. Ji, Shah Sahab, as far as experience is concerned, a man of your experience, legally speaking, how unprecedented a relief is it? Let's talk about that.
Yes, I believe you are talking about the
blanket bail, so to speak.
Blanket bail, and before blanket bails, a day before, I believe in a very unprecedented manner, the Supreme Court also took up the application, your petition filed by the PTI, and that petition was a criminal petition against some order passed by the Islamabad High Court, and there was another criminal miscellaneous application which was for granting of permission to the attorney to file a criminal petition. So these were the two petitions. And those were taken up, and 3 members bench was there constituted. And what unprecedented thing was that Mr. IK, right or wrong, was arrested by the competent authorities, and he was presented before the accountability court, which is the trial court, and Accountability Court had granted 8 days physical remand to the NAB to investigate him. So this is very unprecedented. Yes, any physical remand granted by any criminal court of law or a trial court could be challenged in the appellate court. And in that case, the appellate court was the Islamabad High Court. So by passing all this procedure, okay, the Supreme Court has the authority and has the legal power to listen to the petition arising out of any judgment passed by a high court. Okay, they could have decided it. But calling IK personally, and that too when he was in the physical remand, and granting him as a special treatment, and setting him at liberty by declaring that his arrest under the warrants issued by the NAB were unconstitutional and illegal. This was highly unprecedented. There is no precedent available in which the Supreme Court has taken such matter and with such a big relief. And asking him to go to the High Court. And in High Court, you know that, all right, the High Courts have the power to grant protective pre-arrest bails, yes, there is no issue. But the way the blanket bails were given, those raises very big question marks on the authority used by the High Courts. And another important aspect of the case is that the learned division bench, which granted ad interim bail, pre-arrest bail in the Al-Qadir Trust case, I believe the High Court was supposed to refer the matter to the learned trial court and grant them few days protective bail, that okay, because the learned trial court has the jurisdiction, actual jurisdiction, to grant pre-arrest or after arrest bail. So they took cognizance, took the case with themselves and issued more than 2 weeks notice, which is also unprecedented. And blanket reliefs, including therein that the government or any law enforcing agency cannot arrest him in any FIR or criminal case, rather under any preventive detention. So these are, I believe, highly questionable reliefs which have been given by the High Courts.
Right, let me come back to you. We have with us Senator Kamran Murtaza from the JUIF. Senator Saab, can you hear me?
Yes.
Senator Saab, there's a massive protest, it's believed, planned for tomorrow. What is the plan and what are you registering? The protest is to register your protest against what happened, the violence that was shown, the overall treatment which given to the former Prime Minister. What is it for, essentially?
We are feeling certain reservations against the judgments delivered in last years against the particular party and in another particular party. So we see the political engineering has been made by giving those judgments. So we are staging a protest in front of Supreme Court against those judgments, and the way these judgments have been delivered, the way relief to a particular party, the way to a particular person has been given. So we are demanding fair trial of all the parties, of all the accused, and extension of relief given to a particular person to all the Pakistani citizens.
But as I understand, at this time, the government wants this sit-in to happen in D-Chalk and not in the red zone. Are there negotiations happening pursuant to that? Is it likely to be, what is the likely scenario in that regard?
Around five or six Rana Sanaullah and Agha came to Maulana Sahib. They were asking for holding of this protest outside the red zone. The request was, I think, nothing to change.
You're saying that you intend to do it in front of the Supreme Court?
Yes, we protest. We consider that is by a particular court and relief to a particular person. So it should be in front of the Supreme Court against believe in.
Right, fair enough. Please stay with us. I'll come back to you. Ji, Agha Sahab, the fact that, you know, this is a protest to register what happened, as Shah Khawar Sahab is also saying, you know, the treatment given to the former Prime Minister, unprecedented relief which is being. But there's another case that's scheduled to be heard, a very important case on Monday regarding the elections. Is it going to, do you think that this will have potential ramifications for what is likely to happen? I'll ask the legal side from Shah Khawar Sahab, but in the political scenario, certainly a lot hinges on that case also.
Look, when an accused came in a official Mercedes-Benz and the gate, which is usually used only by the judges, were opened, so nothing is left what would be tomorrow. Tomorrow, definitely, this whole whatever is gaming, it will go for the final stroke. So, of course, politicians also understand this, and they have, I think, they have announced a joint session, and we will see what happens, because this is again, I am telling you.
But Agha Sahab, this is not just, we're not talking about the Prime Minister, we're not only talking about his cabinet, now we're talking about the Parliament. And, you know, it essentially seems to be the Parliament against the two institutions face to face at this time.
This is not a two institution face to face. Actually, there are three institutions face to face.
Okay.
A person who is categorically abusing and targeting military installation, this man has been given blanket relief, as we have already discussed. So this is not a matter of, this is only, you know, what is today? There is one man and there is a state, and there is a contradiction between them. And the man says, if I am here, then the state will survive. If you send me in a jail, then you will see what happens with the state. And you have already seen what happened to the state and could happen to the state, I mean, on 9th of May. So this is not a please come out of this Parliament and versus the Imran Khan, or Parliament versus the Supreme Court. This is a matter, I am telling you with honesty, this is a colossal, huge conspiracy against the state of Pakistan. So all by one-to-one, I mean, he was abusing the last chief. No, he is abusing the sitting chief. So what's the target? Target does achieve. Target is the institution. And what is the institution? That institution, that is the only institution which we believe is very strong, and it integrates Pakistan. So when, God forbid, if anybody wish to disintegrate this country, first target would be the army. That happened in Iraq. And unfortunately, and this is not me, I mentioned, there was a very beautiful interview of Muhammad Hanif, who is a award-winning journalist and the editor of BBC. He also mentioned, he was also shocked why the name of Zalmay Khalilzad is coming so much with Imran Khan, because Zalmay is known as a butcher of Iraq, is known as a butcher of Afghanistan, and experts believe that whatever the name of any country comes out of the Zalmay Khalilzad, I mean, words or mouth, that is the next target of disasters that faced by the Iraq and Afghanistan. So this is not I mean, things separately. There is a lineage. And one last point. Pakistan is situated where China has the most perfect, secure trade routes. All other Chinese trade routes are already, you can say, at the first phase of blockade in Indo-Pacific, and you know, I mean, America is there with even the nuclear submarines. So this is the only the route, that is the Gwadar route and this Kashi route, that is the more secure. So what will be, God forbid, if something happens to Pakistan, so that would be also in a part, if one of the part of blocking the Chinese route. So this is not only, you can say, Pakistan issue and Imran Khan issue. This is a huge, colossal conspiracy.
Let me go to Shah Khawar Sahab. Shah Khawar Sahab, of course, you know, Imran Khan issue, like, you know, Agha Sahab is saying, those are on one side. But if you look at the legality of this, the Supreme Court says that they are going to interpret the Constitution in this manner, and that's what they're doing. What is this, you know, as far as the overall scenario is concerned, the 90-day period, it's been debated, the way the case was taken up, all of those issues are now before us. Legally speaking, what do you expect tomorrow?
Actually, tomorrow, the review petition of Election Commission of Pakistan is fixed before a 3-members bench, and that is against the judgment passed by the Supreme Court on 4th of April 2023, in which the Supreme Court had categorically directed the Election Commission to arrange and hold elections on 14th of May, which is today. And the Supreme Court also issued a schedule to the election process. I believe that is also not in line with the jurisdiction given by the Constitution to the Supreme Court.
Isn't it true that the Election Commission maintains the right to give a schedule and then also to change it?
Yeah, of course. I'm coming to it.
Indeed.
Yes. Supreme Court could have passed an order, yes, that there is a mandate of the Constitution that elections may be held within that particular time period, but could have again passed a direction that to adopt appropriate measures for the holding of elections within the time frame which has been given. But giving the actual date of polling and announcing schedule, I believe that is beyond the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. And to this aspect of the matter has rightly been agitated by the Election Commission before the Honorable Supreme Court that they must review, because the scope of review is always that if there is an apparent error floating on the surface of the record of a judgment. So what I believe is that this is the right thing pointed out by the Election Commission and so many other things.
So
the
the
law and order
Supreme Court
situation
could well
and
choose to step back and look at it from that perspective, look at the review the way you're saying.
yes, of course. And there is another aspect of the matter, that the judgment passed by and the order issued by the Supreme Court on 4th of April, those are still holding the field.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the government has differed with the judgment, but they did not opt to file a review. This is only the Election Commission of Pakistan. And I believe that the tomorrow's bench will ask the Election Commission for their locus standi to file the review petition.
Okay.
If the government would have filed a review petition, the things could have been altogether different. Now first, they will ask the locus standi that under which authority you are filing this review petition, although there are very good points raised by and agitated by the Election Commission of Pakistan. The other matter remains that what will be the consequence of non-compliance of the judgment and the cut-off date which was given by the Supreme Court. Still, no one has come forward to take action against the government or the responsibles who have not held elections on 14th. What I believe is that some separate applications will come before the Supreme Court, invoking the provisions of the Contempt of Court Ordinance to initiate proceedings against the responsibles.
From the PTI, like
from the PTI or some other citizen. And even the Supreme Court or any court of law, even the High Courts and Supreme Court, they can exercise suo motu powers also if there is a contempt. So I believe that someone will come forward and they will file some appropriate application for initiating.
But isn't it true that if the court, I want to get into this, if the court chooses to go down that route, there's an appeal, there's an appeal process to contempt also, which requires a larger bench?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question. That this is a perception in the minds of the people that like the criminal, the contempt proceedings which were initiated against the former Prime Minister of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, he was asked to appear and same day he was awarded punishment. And second day the Supreme Court was also upheld. But this is not the case with Pakistan. Because there is an article which deals with the contempt matters, that is Article 204 of the Constitution, which empowers the High Courts and the Supreme Court to initiate contempt proceedings under the law. And the law which is holding the field, that is the Contempt of Court Ordinance 5 of 2003. And there is a procedure given in it. If someone is to be proceeded under that law, one has to be given simple notice and a reply will be requisitioned. And if the court is not satisfied with the reply, the next step is to issuing of the show cause notice, in which the personal appearance could also be made. And even reply to the show cause notice is not satisfactory to the court.
So it's a lengthy process.
Then the charge will be framed, and after framing of charge, the Attorney General for Pakistan, as per rules, has to prosecute. And interesting thing is that every interlocutory order passed by the court which has taken cognizance of contempt is challengeable in the intra-court appeal.
And in the intra-court appeal?
In the intra-court appeal, then the larger bench will be constituted other than the judges who have taken cognizance of the contempt.
And isn't it true that we've seen, let me just ask if Kamran Sahab is still with us. Ji, Kamran Sahab, are you still with us? No, I don't think so. Shah Khawar Sahab, isn't it true that we've also seen like a clear division within the Supreme Court? I mean, it's no secret, it's there. So for the court to go down that route, they would need the kind of, I mean, it's quite likely that other judges may differ on this issue with them, because there was considerable difference of opinion to begin with.
Actually, presently, the powers lies with the Chief Justice of Pakistan to constitute the benches. There is another debate that a law was promulgated by the Parliament, but which has been already stayed, or the operation of same has been suspended before it's coming into being. So at present, the Chief Justice has the prerogative of constituting the bench and which judges are to be there. Yes, this has been a consistent demand from the legal fraternity, from the bar councils, from the bar associations, that in such like matters in which the highly sensitive constitutional political matters are before the Supreme Court, then it is appropriate that full court bench is constituted. So if full court bench would have been constituted in all the matters which are now controversial, I believe that would have been the best option to the court.
But that ship has sailed.
Sorry?
That ship has sailed now. In that,
yeah,
I mean, that's
yes,
not
of
going
course. But the division within the Supreme Court, that is quite apparent, which is highly unfortunate, I believe. So the composition of benches.
But that's likely to be, what I'm saying is that division, of course, it's unfortunate and it has its own potential ramifications. But on the cases itself also, it's likely that other judges may differ on this issue of elections, which they've already shown that, you know, there is a difference of opinion on it.
But so far as the present bench is concerned, because the Supreme Court rule says that the review petition will be fixed before the same judges, and especially the judge who has authored. So 3 of the judges are there. So the scope of review is always very limited, because this is not an appeal. This is not opening of whole of the case. Only the court has to see that what is the apparent error pointed out by the petitioner.
It's not going to be a review of a larger bench.
I believe, yes. But there are cases, in so many cases in review jurisdiction even the composition of bench was enhanced, yes. There are 2 instances, I believe. One was the Hubara Bustards case, which judgment was passed by a 3-members bench, but in review that was enlarged to the 5-members bench. And even the judgment was also reversed. So there are very few examples.
But it can be done.
But it can be done.
Right, fair enough. Ji, Agha Sahab, you seem to be, you know, as far as the opinion is concerned, Shah Khawar Sahab's opinion, you seem to be agreeing with, you know, overall the scenario of what's likely to happen tomorrow. But isn't it true that perhaps, you know, in the larger interest of stability, in the larger interest of, you know, the kind of situation that we've seen in the last week or so, the violence we've seen, the way that institutions have been trampled upon, it's been thought-provoking for all institutions, and perhaps that scenario might not likely happen, whatever doomsday scenario is being predicted at this time for what will happen in this case tomorrow.
Mahrukh, you know my opinion about this. I am extraordinary and categorically against cosmetic surgeries. And I told you before, let it be like it is. Because we cannot give this state to 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 mob to handle this state. I mean, whatever they think about that. So, the monopoly of use of violence, that is the only lies with the state. It is being exercised by the mobs. And for greater good, we cannot have a very, loose hand on them. We have to deal with them. It could be 4,000 people, 5,000 people, 10,000 people, not more than that. Because if you give this right to
But
violence.
the two issues are not necessarily interlinked when we talk about the election issue and we talk about the partisanship or you know, as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, and the violence that happened. They're not necessarily interlinked.
They are interlinked, and fortunately, everything is, I mean, exposed layered by layered by layered. So this is what I always say, this year or year 22 are very fortunate year for Pakistan, because whatever we had been going through,
You're
we
of the
were
opinion
shy.
that things are going to get worse before they get better.
We were shy to talk about. No, everything is open, and let it be like that. There could be a contradiction, let there be even a clash between, I mean, institutions, but that would be, of course, for the favor of Pakistan. Otherwise, you cannot be, I mean, a hostage to a person who says, ki, if I am here and if I am allowed to rule, then there would be Pakistan. Otherwise, God forbid, you will see fire everywhere.
But isn't
that
it
you have
true
already
that
seen.
the question now is not only who will be in power or not? The question is, these events are setting their own precedents.
Yes.
For what's going to happen, the violence,
Yes,
the way
violence.
that the kind of you know, the kind of atmosphere that this has bred for Pakistan is now going to, it's part of history. That's not going to go away.
I tell you, for the last 1 year, Pakistan is moving nowhere, because whenever Pakistan needs some stability, this one man comes out with a novel idea or a novel idea, and then we see, I mean, there is a fire. So how can we go for this situation for a long? That is why I am of the view, this is my opinion, whatever the clash is possible or
Should
expected or written on the wall, it should be now, it should be done.
Right. I want to move on, but Shah Sahib, my last question to you overall, as far as the strength of this Al-Qadr case is concerned. We saw the former Prime Minister make certain explanations yesterday when he addressed his followers. How do you look at the overall strength of this case, as legally speaking?
Mahrukh, I tell you, when this fact came before us that an amount of 190 million pounds have been were fined to the Mahrukh Riaz and Company, and that amount had to come to the public exchequer, which is the Federal Consolidated Fund. And when that amount was transferred to the Supreme Court, where a fund was established, where 460 billion rupees were to be deposited by Mahrukh Riaz and Bahria town within 7 years. So that amount, which today I believe amounts to 60 billion rupees, that was adjusted in that account, which that liability which he had to discharge in the Supreme Court. So I was of the opinion at the same time, at the that moment, that this is going to be a big trouble for Mr. Imran Khan and his government, because this is a glaring example of misuse of authority and giving undue favor to a particular person or a group of persons.
So it's not just a deviation of procedure, it's a question of misuse of funds.
Yes, of course, that is apparently causing loss to the public exchequer to the tune of this much amount. So, and another case, the allegation is that in return of this favor, this Al-Qadr University Trust was created and the land was allocated by the same group, and a huge amount was also allocated. So the case of the NAB prima facie is that against a big favor which was given by the cabinet under the chair of the Prime Minister to that particular group, and in return they created a trust, and that particular group invested a huge amount to the trust.
But Shah Sahib, the former Prime Minister says the money came back to Pakistan.
Yes, it came back to Pakistan. But coincidentally, that went into the liability account in the Supreme Court, which that particular group had to discharge. So it is like that I bring some money from this pocket and put it in another.
Okay.
So this is the case, I believe.
Okay, fair enough. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us. Shah Sahab, thank you so much for being with us. Agha Iqrar Sahab, thank you for your very valuable comments. I want to go to Dr. Selçuk Aydın in Turkey to talk more about the developments as far as the Turkey elections are concerned. Could you update us a little bit about what's happening as far as the elections are concerned? What is the situation as far as the president, of course, faces the biggest political challenge of his 2-decade rule? Is it correct?
Thank you for having me. And first of all, yes, you're right. That's the biggest challenge of current President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and it also the most significant election for Turkey to designate the upcoming politics of Turkey in the region, in the world, and also internal politics as well.
But overall, what is the situation? I mean, of course, it's more than 64 million eligible voters, and it's supposed to be overall. What is his position at this time? His the confidence that the president enjoys, his developments overall, as far as the people are concerned. What is the mood there?
First of all, in Turkish elections, around 90% of the people are joining the election and voting. That's one of the biggest rate of the world in the elections. And also the both candidates are very much strong. And according to surveys, Erdogan and Kılıçdaroğlu is very close to 50%. And currently, still Erdogan is we can easily say the strongest candidate for this election.
Overall, what are
and this time, I want to add that the Kılıçdaroğlu, the candidate of the we are calling it the six table, because 6 different political parties are currently supporting Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu's candidacy, and also the pro-Kurdish party HDP is also supporting Kılıçdaroğlu, and that's why we can easily say that different political spectrum of Turkey is strongly supporting Kılıçdaroğlu, and also Erdogan has the support of MHP, Turkish Nationalist Party, and another Turkish nationalist Büyük Birlik Partisi, and also another we can easily say Kurdish and Islamic Party, Hüdapar. So within this picture, and we have third candidate whose name is Sinan Ogan. He is Turkish nationalist. So if it will be second round in the election, because in the first election each candidate should pass 50%. If none of them pass 50%, that will be second round. And in the next second round, Sinan Ogan, Turkish nationalist candidate, is going to be the we can easily say that the significant person who is whether supporting Erdogan or not.
Overall, in terms of the issues, what the election hinges on, are these going to be what the economy is? Of course, we saw unprecedented damage in the earthquake also, relief operations overall, and there's the issue of brain drain, refugees, all those things. Are they going to be the crucial issues that play a part in the election of today?
Absolutely, you're right. And also, Erdogan is governing Turkey more than 20 years. That's why people know what Erdogan is going to do. And according to surveys, still he has very strong and nationwide support. So many of the people are trusting Erdogan for solving these problems. And also, that's, as we said in the beginning, that's the biggest challenge of Erdogan this election, because of these issues. And economy is very, we can easily say, problematic last few years, which is affected because of COVID-19 pandemic. And also we are in the election mood last 1 year. That's why election mood shaped the economy as well, because President Erdogan decreased the interest rate to support the market, but it affected the economy harshly, and also this election economy negatively affect the economy. And secondly, earthquake. Earthquake is the biggest issue of Turkey for the upcoming years. Not only the places who are under this problem, but also Istanbul as well, because Istanbul experienced more than 25 years ago, we experienced the biggest earthquake of the Turkish history. And this earthquake, the memory of this earthquake is still valid in Istanbul, and people want to change the construction system of Turkey. So this election is going to under this mood of the people as well.
As far as the present regime is concerned, under the president presently, are the people satisfied with the overall, performance? Like you said, of course, it's post-COVID-19 economy. Those issues are there. Earthquake, of course, is there. But he's also been, as I understand, the longest-standing president in Turkey.
Absolutely. In Turkish history, President Erdogan is the long-standing president of Turkey and prime minister. He started as a prime minister in 2002. Even the Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, who is the founder of Turkey, was governing Turkey about 15 years. That's why it is we can say that the most significant person across modern Turkish history. So last 20 years experience. And also it is very much interesting because, as you know, in democratic systems and also in the democratic elections, it is really hard to convince people within 20 years. And Erdogan still has popular support, and he has a potential to win this election as well. That's why it is very much interesting in the modern Turkish history and also in the world democratic process as well. Why people are supporting Erdogan, and that's I think key question, because people are feeling the same emotions with Erdogan because of the identity. He comes from the conservative background and rural background, and the modern Turkish history was very much we can call it Jacobinic to modernize the country. So people are feeling very much the same emotions with Erdogan.
You're saying, and of course, this is a generation. When we talk about 20 years, there must be a lot of voters must have been added, and this generation grew up with him as president. So there must be a lot of affiliation there also, right?
Yes, and also people are asking, so what young people are going to do, because as you said, Turkey has a very strong young generation, and their political behaviors is going to shape this election as well. And young people are generally very much critical, but when they are going to come to like a 30s, we can say 10 years later, and I can see from my environment, people who are so critical in 20s, but they change to be more, how can I say, pro Erdogan in 30s. It's very interesting process. And early 20s also, the joining the election, the is very low level in comparing with the other generations.
Fair enough.
But we can easily say is generally critical, and they do not, in general, they do not support Erdogan.
So you're saying that it's generally going to be judged, I mean, the performance of what happened in his tenures and how much Turkey has achieved in that sense. What about foreign policy?
Foreign policy, that's like a huge difference from the beginning to today, the AKP's the Erdogan's foreign policy, because when he came to power, he had close relation with the Western powers, European Union and the United States of America. But during the process, his foreign policy dramatically changed. In early 2010s, because of the Arab Spring as well, his foreign policy was very close to Western foreign policy, then it changed to be very proactive policy. And President Erdogan tried to shape the Middle East politics as well. But his perspective and
does he have support in that change? You're saying the shift to foreign policy. Do people support that change?
Yeah, he enhanced and empowered the Turkey Council in Minor Asia, with the Minor Asia countries, and also he achieved what he wanted in Syria, in the borderland area, and he has close relation with the northern Iraq, Kurdistan regional government, and he has good relation with Azerbaijan, and in Nagorno-Karabakh, they achieved what they want there, and with Libya, in because of the, as you know, the Mediterranean politics, he achieved what he wants. But in like about 10 years ago, people was thinking that Erdogan cannot achieve what he wants in that region. But during the process, it is so interesting. His policies showed that Western hegemony is decreasing in the world as well.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you so much for your time, Selçuk. Thank you for joining us and updating us on the overall polls and the situation in Turkey as far as the elections are concerned. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you for joining us today. We'll know, of course, what happens in Turkey in a little bit, and also Monday, the crucial election case, and along with the sit-in that is scheduled for the PDM members are going to show their protest against what happened as far as the former Prime Minister is concerned, the treatment meted out to him, and the violence that was shown by overall people in the last couple of days. Let's see what happens. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.